Call the meeting to order. First order of business is the minutes from May 8th. Are there any corrections to the minutes on May 8th? Okay, Peter, I sent you a couple. Those have been changed? Okay. So he said about the doodle was only for the dinner, not for the meeting. And the reserve fund is updated to the correct amount. Okay, so do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Okay, but motion is made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have in the Finance Committee Reserve Fund $1,087,902.21. I want to, great news, the manager has let us keep the 21 cents.
What a guy.
It's not true.
Don't spend it all on us.
Okay, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight we have before the committee a series of reserve fund transfers and then some information in regards to some extra department transfers. I guess I will ask the indulgence of the committee. I am trying to go to the next event tonight at Town Hall at 8 o'clock. So if I could answer questions instead of going through each one, would you be comfortable with that?
Okay. If, I mean, you've had it for a couple of days. Hopefully people have had a chance to go through it. Obviously, the lion's share is the snow and ice. And the, I guess there was another storm in early April that wiped out some more money. And obviously, we've had the elections in June coming. I think there was something for the town clerk and on. Questions for the manager? Dick?
I have two. One is the piece of fire department equipment that was repaired for $21,000. It's only a 4-year-old piece of equipment and only 25,000 miles.
So what happened was, and the chief is still working to get satisfaction from the manufacturer who provided who sold the piece of equipment to the town. But apparently there was something wrong with the filter in the engine, and a significant amount of dust got into the engine. And he actually showed me the photos. There was dust everywhere.
Was the filter replaced? That came with it. Is it the original filter or is it a replacement filter?
I'm not sure how often it's replaced. But replaced or not, it wasn't working properly. And so we are still going to try to avail ourselves, but we couldn't keep it out of service. So we may recoup some, we may not, but we needed to get it fixed to keep the truck in service.
That's the ambulance, right?
No, it's the engine.
Oh, the engine?
Yeah, engine 2.
Oh, it says emergency one. Okay.
E1 is actually that's the make.
Yeah, okay. The other one was on the $80,000 of the senior center. Wow. When looking at everything, would you rebid that whole thing?
Would I rebid the whole thing?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't have that reaction. I mean, it wasn't really so far out of where we thought our cost estimates would be once it was designed. It's obviously higher than what the cost estimates were when we asked for the capital budget. But once the architect and designer was hired and worked through options.
You expected it to go for $300,000?
It was not, yeah, once the actual design and the materials that were going to be used were laid out, it was that we were not entirely surprised by that figure.
Is this capital budget committee going to transfer the $12,000 to?
So we have not asked the capital planning committee that question yet. They haven't met since we became aware of this. That's yet for us to ask them.
So if they don't transfer it, what happens?
They don't transfer it, we'd be operating without a contingency and we'll probably have to shave off some small part of the budget.
So this would, okay, you're facing from Maple Street, so it basically takes out that whole, all the brickwork right to the door
Right.
and puts in asphalt, concrete?
Concrete.
Concrete. Gonna make it the nice red concrete or just ordinary concrete? Ordinary concrete, okay. And the ramp would go,
From the back parking lot behind, so if you're looking from the back of Town Hall
okay,
at the central school, it would come from that side driveway that goes down towards Maple Street. You know, there's a doorway into the senior center there. We would run from that doorway to the back of the building over to what would be designated as handicap spots in the middle.
okay. What are the problems you're having with that stretch
Yeah.
that caused you to do this project?
So this project, my understanding is this project has been talked about since before I ever even worked for this town in 2010. And there's just been a lot of back and forth in regards to, do we keep the bricks, do we get rid of the bricks? When Jenny Raitt started as planning director, she sort of really picked this torch back up and started moving it forward, engaging with the Council on Aging, other tenants in the Central School, the Historic Commission, the Historic District Commission, and that's what led to this project. But the problems we're having is people are falling regularly and getting seriously injured. It's not an accessible building. Its primary use is as a senior center.
Questions, Charlie?
Yes. What's going to happen to the, you want to use the $12,000 out of the planning money from the capital plan? What's this going to do to the planning for the renovation of the building?
So that 12,000 is actually residual money from the feasibility study. Money that was planning money for the feasibility study. There's still an appropriation for hiring an architect in the, I believe in the FY18. I think it's the 18 capital.
Other questions? Christine?
How could we have ever underpaid 3 employees for 5 years? How did that happen?
That is a great question that I anticipated.
Could
Apparently,
I'm having problems hearing. My wife says I'm deaf, probably true. Could you just repeat that a little louder?
Throw
the sensor in there at the same time.
What's
your question? So there are employees who were underpaid in the library for 5 years, 3 employees for 5 years. So how does that happen? Why does it happen? What do we do about it? How do we prevent it from happening again?
so the assessor's payroll issue and the library issue are actually two different problems. I mean, different in how they occur. The library issue is, it's multiple employees, they were one sort of class of employee, and the data that the HR office input into the pay and class tables, which were then input into Munis, and the payroll system, were in error. One, that was discovered, it was rectified, but that's how that happened. And the source document that the comptroller would be using, and the payroll office would be using to make sure that the data in Munis was right, was the pay and classification. The assessor's case, it was right in the pay and classification plan. It was even right in the budget documents that we put forward for the last meeting, town meeting to adopt. He wasn't just actually being paid right via payroll and then when discovered, obviously.
Is there any correlation then on the payroll to what the correct wages are supposed to be for everybody? That's, I think it's, look to the link that is problematic. So then, if it's happening in a couple places, why isn't it happening in a lot of places?
No, that's a fair question. I think I can say this, that with the turnover of the comptroller and the payroll director in the past year and a half, I frankly kind of hesitate to say this, but I'm surprised there haven't been a few more hiccups than this. I can say on a go-forward basis, the comptroller has already implemented more steps in terms of adding a layer of department head, not just visual review, but sign off on the review, which should help as adding another layer of verification.
Roughly, what was the difference per week, or how's the town paid? Weekly, bi-weekly, weekly? how much would the difference have been? I mean, if it's $5, $10, I can understand why somebody could notice it, but.
That's a good question. Let's see. Assessor was, yeah, the assessor on a weekly basis was very, very small.
Okay, then don't involve, I mean, I would think somebody would know what they're getting paid.
Yeah, 3 employees.
Via
Yeah,
the
same.
pay stub, if nothing else.
Well, I'm also wondering too, if I didn't ask Andrea, but she wasn't around back then, but you know how sometimes they start mid-year with their, they either being reclassed or getting a step increase, and so it might have been that they missed the mid-year increase and didn't capture it. Okay. Because $10,000 for 3 people over 5 years is not a lot per week.
I'm sure it's the people receiving the funds that, to me, would be, hey, you didn't pay me enough.
Right.
That's,
But it would be, for
yeah.
them, I think it was a small amount per week until they looked again.
Okay, you said, Brian?
I have other questions if you're done. I'm sure this isn't the way it was meant, but under legal, it says the legal department budget for outside counsel is projected to fall short because of a settlement approved by the finance committee in April. I'm sure that is that.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't have worded it that way. Costs related to a settlement that the finance committee already made a transfer.
All right. Then this was the one that jumped out at me, and that was the school department, the town. This is a town cost, not a school expense. Obviously, what's the logic behind that?
So legally, when, if there is an out-of-district assessment, someone going, to somewhere that's not Minuteman, where we have a membership in the district, the schools are not required under net school spending or their foundation budget to pay for that. It has to be paid for out of town profit, but we can't require that.
Okay, because that budget's outside of the school budget. Got it.
Yeah, so it seemed, we should go to one place, they pay it, and then we'll, because you never know from year to year, literally, how many people or kids might be going out of district like this.
Oh, actually, a totally separate question. If we offer a vocational school, somebody can actually just say, hey, I don't want to go to that one, I want to go to Essex Aggie.
Depends on the program. If there's a,
So there's a program that's not offered.
Okay, Charlie?
Yes, I have another question about the payroll. Have we checked to see that people aren't being overpaid?
specifically checked.
Well,
I don't want to say that we.
Apparently there have been some control issues in the payroll, so there's an equal probability that people could be overpaid. And the problem with that, of course, is that some people are not going to be in a position to rectify it.
That's fair. Yeah, I think the best I can say is I should have a further talk with the comptroller and payroll and see if there's some sort of spot on they can do, just to give us more comfort that we're not in a situation, with other people being underpaid.
Now, the payroll was under the treasurer's office, isn't it? Technically?
We have a historically funny setup here at Arlington where statutorily payroll is the function of the treasurer's office. But I think going back to when John Bilford was treasurer, there was an agreement made where payroll would live in the school department. So the payroll director is hired by the superintendent and it's budgeted in the school department. And there were budget agreements, I think, made at that time where money was transferred from the town budget into the school budget so the schools aren't bearing any undue burden. But the treasurer plays a role, but it's a school department employee. So it's a little odd as compared to most municipalities.
Okay. So you'll check in to see if, on that issue. Charlie, you have any? Okay. Other questions? Stephen?
Yeah, I have a question again on the central school, and I was having trouble reconciling the narrative in Sandy's memo with the memo that Jennifer had done. In Sandy's memo, there's the bids exceed, it says that the bids exceeded the original construction budget by $84,650. $12,000 is going to be requested from the capital planning committee, and that leaves $62,650. Well,
62,650 plus 12 is 74,650. And when I compared that to what was described in the memo of May 30th, I'm having trouble reconciling that amount as well.
The way it looks is that they're both off by $10,000.
Right.
One in one direction and the other in the
Right.
other direction.
The other one looks like that the gap should be 52,650 instead of 62,650.
I,
Yeah, I think that-
in Jennifer's
Oh, I see.
memo,
Yeah.
there's a thing of, there is in the second to bottom paragraph, it talks about 52,694, and that matches up with the $12,000 less than the 64,694, and then an additional 99.55 for contingency. So I think
And
those numbers.
So the contingency may not have been mentioned, well, it wasn't mentioned in the prior paragraph. So 52,000 is needed plus the contingency of 9,500, and that's,
yeah, and just doing the quick math, it appears the number that's in error is Sandy's mentioned,
Okay.
the 84,650. Because the project is 64,694 over what we have without either the 12,000 in capital or reserve fund.
okay.
So, yeah.
And Alan, I have one other question. It just,
Okay, so when you come down to the bottom, what does it do to the request for 12 from the capital at 62,650?
So 12 and the 62,650 would cover the gap and the need for the contingency.
if Paul just mentioned it as you were working through it, I think that makes sense. It's the contingency is what gets it back up to 62,000.
Yeah.
Okay, 84,650.
It's just wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Just one other thing, in the first paragraph of Sandy's memo, there's a sentence that says there may be a need for additional transfers not included in the attachment. And my question here is if there's any request from the school on shortfalls, would that come directly to us or would that come through your office if there's a need for additional funds?
My glib answer would be it depends on their explanation. Well, I would imagine the superintendent would come to me first, and then we would probably come, I think, jointly with a request if necessary.
And I'm just wondering, is he referring to the schools there or is he referring to just your budgets?
I think that's stock.
Okay.
You know, we're very confident in what we're saying, but, you know, something could happen. Thunderstorm with hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds could rip through.
Okay, Ellen?
The Minuteman elections shortfall, so I take it that we weren't reimbursed for the full cost of the election.
We were reimbursed for nearly the full cost, but we can't spend that money. So it's more really an appropriation shortfall where we have to, like, that reimbursement comes back into the general fund coffers, but it's not appropriated money. So we need to make sure that we transfer appropriated money so that we don't end up in a deficit.
Okay, so we can cover the whole thing with the additional 6,700 transfer, and the 27,252 goes into free cash.
Ultimately, yes.
So we were reimbursed for what it actually cost.
Yeah,
It's just sort of a cash flow.
yeah, I think dollar for dollar, we gave them every penny we spent on reimbursement.
Okay, that one, that's it? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, rather than go through and sort of vote each one, could everybody go to the chart? Since this sort of summarizes it all together. And so you have it all there. You've got 35,066 are interfund transfers. So those are between expenses or personnel services within the operating budgets of that department. And then the balance is from the reserve fund equaling 1069. So he left us a little more than 21 cents. But if overall this looks adequate and reasonable to you, we can just vote the whole thing. If somebody wants to change one item, you know, that's your discretion. Do I have a motion?
Move the whole thing.
Okay, move the entire thing, and Alan, I'll take yours as a second. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving both the interdepartmental transfers of 35,066 and the reserve fund transfers of 1,069,585, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so.
Adam, did we get any damage with the storm the other night?
No, not that Mike has made me aware of. I was sitting out there waiting to go into the childcare facility, hoping it would stop before I had to bring the kids out. But yeah, I don't know that the winds were as bad as we thought they might be. I didn't see any tree damage. I'm sure there was some small stuff that came down.
I have a question, a general question. Do you think that the large reserve fund is making the departments less careful about their overrun?
No, I don't. I think I did some quick numbers actually just before I came in, sort of with that same thought in mind. So of the reserve funds that the committee just voted to transfer, 78% of it was in regards to snow and ice.
That's right.
The
But there's
remainder
still
in general,
more than $200,000.
which is less than 1% of the operating budget.
You know,
I think that's a pretty fair margin. You know, not to defend or not defend each individual one, but I think that's a pretty fair margin given the scope of department's
And
responsibility.
we're not rolling any deficit into the next fiscal year. I think that's one of the good things about increasing our reserve fund over the last couple of years is we used to have 500,000 built into the system so that we could roll that deficit into the next year and raise it. Now we do no rolling, no deficit. It's all covered either in the budgets or the reserve funds. Yeah. Okay, are there any other questions for the manager?
It's not gonna snow again between now
I can't find it. I had my heat on.
It was 48 degrees last night.
Okay, do you think that will get by the controller?
Yeah, if we need more, I'll find it.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Manager.
Thank you all. Any questions on community choice aggregation? That's where I'm going next. I can save you your attendance at that meeting if you want.
Yeah, if you're in a building, does the whole building have to make a decision? Or does a condo association make the decision?
Depends on what service you're on.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking what building you might be talking about, and it probably is because it's ownership and individual.
Yeah.
Did you have an individual meter in that building? No, it's not.
I think several buildings I've looked at, they have individual meters.
For each unit?
Yeah, most of the new apartments have individual meters now.
Yes.
So each of those would,
be an individual decision.
okay, I was just curious. Any questions for the manager?
And this just takes the basic rate. It doesn't do anything for the delivery charges on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in. Rush off to your next meeting.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
At this point,
Al,
yes, Paul?
continuing with reserve fund issues, do we want to vote the annual summertime, if there are any reserve fund transfers that come up, we will authorize the chair with the agreement of the vice chairs to
Yeah, I think usually in the past it's been done, that's an excellent point. The Finance Committee authorizes the chair to approve transfers of $10,000, and with the permission, with the approval of the chair and 2 of the vice chairs to go up to $25,000 until our next meeting. So,
move.
Second.
okay, everybody understand? So I don't have to call you guys back in the middle of August for a meeting. It hasn't really happened all that much. So is there any questions? Okay, the motion is to, again, to approve, to allow the chair to transfer up to $10,000 to the reserve fund, and with the approval, additional approval of 2 out of the 3 vice chairs, go up to $25,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The last order of business is the election of officers. So with that, Elizabeth, be gentle with her. It's her first
Thank
time.
you, yes.
Okay.
All right, the first seat that we have is for chairman of the Finance Committee for the next year. Do I have a nomination?
Al Toston.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Al, congratulations.
So my wife didn't talk to any of you.
The second is for 2 vice chairs. The first is Charlie Foskett, and the second is Alan Jones. Do I have a nomination to?
So moved.
Second.
You rushed me.
I call the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations, gentlemen. And the third is for a vice chair. We have a vacancy, as everyone knows. Do we have a nomination?
I nominate Christine Deschler.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
I'm willing to do it.
And last but not least, our recording secretary. Do we have a nomination?
So moved, Mr. Howard.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Congratulations, Pete.
Peter's been trying to get out of that job for a long time.
Be happy to give it up if somebody really would like to do it.
You do such a great job and you do so much work in it that nobody else wants it. Okay, that's great. Now, I expect that our next meeting will be sometime in October for the special town meeting. I think there's several issues there. I'm trying to remember what they are. Charlie, is one of them one of the schools?
Yeah, we have, there's 2, in association with the savings of the money from the Stratton project. We have approximately $1 million, I think, that we have to allocate. And we also have to allocate the $750,000, I shouldn't say allocate, appropriate the $750,000 that's expected to come from the selling of the DAV building. And that's going to be applied to, part of it is going to be applied to the Gibbs project, where there was $1 million overrun, and part of it for the Mystic Bridge, the acceleration of the Mystic Bridge project.
The 2 projects that drove you crazy last month.
Well,
Okay.
it was very fortunate that we had, it was amazing that they saved $1.5 million on that Stratton project.
Well,
Is the selling of the DAV property moving along as expected? Are there any glitches in it?
There's been one offer. The offer came in at $750,000, and I don't know where they are in the. At the end of town meeting, they were planning on a close, but I don't know what's happening.
Brian,
I just wanted to mention what's going on over in Town Hall about the community energy project that they're getting into. I just had an opportunity to talk to the town manager about it because I wanted to go to a meeting. I wasn't sure what time we were gonna get out of here. I really would like everybody to take a good, hard thought about what's going on in Washington currently and what the current belief about, one, global warming and everything else. When we moved to Arlington, I sort of beat into my girlfriend as we bought the house. I said, we have to have a big roof. I'm getting solar powered. I want solar panels, I want solar power. And by the way, I want the Tesla to plug into it as well. But we happen to have the largest tree in Arlington on our property. So there is never any sun on our house. And I'm jumping at the opportunity to buy 100% renewable energy from this company that has signed up. It's about 2 cents a kilowatt more than the regular, and I said, based upon our usage of about 600 kilowatts a month on average, it's $14 a month. And I'm like, for $14 a month, I finally get a chance to do something right. And I just want to put that out there to everybody and just let everybody know that there's something going on that we can all have an opportunity to contribute to the future.
Okay, is there any other business before the committee? Dick?
Okay, on the dinner next week. John, are you going?
Yes. I thought we were just not supposed to.
Yeah, only if they weren't coming, they were
Yeah.
gonna respond.
Okay.
And I only got 2 non-coming.
So I got, Jonathan not coming?
I am not.
Right. Chris?
Probably not.
Right. And Charlie?
I'm not sure.
Right, and, well, Grant's not here. Okay.
Did you invite Dean?
Who?
Dean Carmen?
Oh, yeah, okay, good. So I'll take care. Okay, we're gonna have some fish and beef like we had before, so forth. And I got last year's on what people prefer. I'm gonna use that as a barometer to figure it out.
These haven't changed.
No, oh, yeah, well, I'll be missing one veggie today.
Okay, we
Right.
started, we're there at 6:30, Dick?
6:30, right, Tom?
Whatever you want.
4 o'clock?
Whatever you want.
3 o'clock?
It's up to you.
Okay, yeah, 6:30, dinner at 7:15.
Okay, that sounds great. Hope everybody can make it, except sometimes you can't. Okay, is there any other business? Charlie?
Yes, I would just like to thank Dick for his long years of service as vice chairman. I think we all benefited from your hard work and leadership.
Someone has to go to all those school committee meetings over the last 30 years. We'll put you on Public Works.
Oh, yeah. You can have that one.
Okay, so any other business before the committee? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Christine?